Hello and welcome to our fourth series of Q&A with primatologist, founder of the Orangutan Project, Leif Cocks. Thank you to those who wrote in during the week. We've received emails and messages. This week, we're receiving messages from a lot of people who are concerned about remaining habitats, not even just in Indonesia, but around the world. And there's a sense of frustration, and they're asking us, what can we all do to save remaining habitats? Mm-hmm. So we have three questions, and they're kind of around this issue. Leif, the first one is from Sandy, and she says, there are many high-profile multimillionaires who care deeply about the environment. Why can't several of them just get together and buy tracts of rainforest for orangutans?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a very good question, and when we're in the charity side of our work, we normally get two recommendations to us for a new person. You're gonna really get a lot of money if you get somebody really famous, or you talk to big businesses, and they've been the most unproductive sources of income. Is the average middle-class person who is really supporting conservation and our work to achieve meaningful outcomes in the field. But when you think about it, yes, you can fit half the world's wealth in one double-decker bus. So you have a lot of people extremely rich, but the money is often not available. A lot of these trust funds and these things are not purely charity oriented as it's proposed to be, and it's very difficult for somebody who has made the money from exploitation, in some sense or another, to care about the environment and the future, because we all are fundamentally good people, and deep down we believe we must be good, even though our actions sometimes don't demonstrate that. And therefore, when you have privilege beyond merit, you kind of have to start demonizing the underprivileged to justify it. Doesn't make sense. Otherwise, well, you just tend to be an asshole, But you can't feel that way, because you generally have to feel that you're a good person. And so things like climate change, poverty alleviation, economic and environmental justice for future generations, and saving the planet, these things are hard to swallow and to engage in, because at some level you probably understand that you are contributing to it in some way. So it really takes a very brave and very courageous thinking wealthy person to get to the stage where they say, oh, I've gained so much beyond the merit of my skill and ability due to circumstances, and I need to give back. And in other words, stop passing the true cost of production, the true value of my wealth onto others through exploitation vicariously through the process, and give back to make a better world. So that's kind of my general summary. Is that that's very difficult when somebody has become that wealthy, to bring them on the journey to get the outcome. The other aspect, of course, is most of them are males, and males, and we talk about let's say disturbance in a economy or in a society. It's actually not poverty that drives crime and revolution. It's actually inequality. It's males competing against each other. If all the males are poor, they're all happy. If there's inequality, you get crime and you get possibility of revolution. In a similar connection, these wealthy male billionaires, it's not about getting another $1 billion. They can't spend that money anyway. It's about being richer than that guy.
Yeah.
So there's male competitive, which goes beyond reason, if that makes sense. So it's not about money anymore. It's about competition, and it's that deep-seated male competition psyche, which is, I guess, part of the problem. And in my book, Finding Our Humanity, I talk about the desperate need to re-establish feminine power within our structures and organizations, because this is probably our only chance to mitigate the natural tendency for males to get into competition mode.
Thank you. And that sounds like the sort of thing that we will have people writing in and asking more about that. So please do. My cat's walked in and you can hear her meowing down here. So I'm just patting her as I read you the next question. This is from Natani. Recently, Leif, I thought you were purchasing land in Indonesia. Is that still happening? And do you find the way land is owned in Indonesia a challenge?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we actually don't get involved with land purchase too much. The reason being is it tends to be small and of no conservation significance, because the vast majority of land in Indonesia is owned by the Indonesian government. There's only small parcels of land which are owned by individual communities and people, especially in conservation areas. So it has to be very specific and very targeted to have any meaning. So just like the palm oil companies, the mining companies, and the pulp paper companies, they all have to lease the land from the government with a 60-year lease with a 99-year option. So that's a real opportunity. It's cool and sexy to say I've bought land, but it's not really the way to go. If we're going to keep significant tracts of rainforest to form viable ecosystems to pass on to the next generation and allow the tigers, elephants, and the orangutans to survive, it's actually about leasing. And there's this new category of land use in Indonesia over the last decade, which is ecosystem restoration concession. So if the government can be convinced not to make a production forest or logging forest or mining, there's an alternative to restore that rainforest back for future generations and to support a sustainable economy for Indonesia into the future. And that I see as our major opportunity to save orangutans as well as save the economic and environmental future for Indonesia and the planet.
Thank you. And that sounds also could be a topic for another discussion, but a millionaire can't just go in and buy him or herself a major tract of rainforest. They would need to be working in the same way, I suppose.
Well, yes. I mean, you have to be an Indonesian company in order to be qualified to lease this. And so there's rules and regulations and working with government, changing land use planning, helping give advice for land use planning to become more sustainable, and then using that more sustainable land use planning to gain the rights to manage and restore through qualified and reliable Indonesian partners. So as I'm explaining, it becomes extremely complex and convoluted, as well as we have to say the right type, shape, and size of rainforest and manage it properly with local communities for the communities benefit and get rich and becomes economically environmentally sustainable. As I keep talking, I'm starting to bore myself. And so this is why good conservation management it can be quite different than good marketing. And so it does sometimes take a while to take people on a journey from, the frivolous, I guess, I want to buy a bit of land or plant a tree, to getting it down to meaningful conservation on the ground. And the best way, of course, to do that is, and how humans have been successful all along, is that the fact that we collectivize, and we working together, we have achieved great things. As individuals, we're pretty pathetic. And so we work with wonderful partners, wonderful people with all the different expertise that, from fundraising to marketing to administration to agricultural development to ranger protection. And we use our collectivization of knowledge and skills that we don't have as individuals to achieve the outcome. So I always encourage people, look, the real way is to solve this problem is to collectivize with an organization you trust to make the meaningful outcomes on the ground that we need.
Thank you. And this kind of segues into what you were just saying. So perhaps just focus it a little bit. This is from Tanya, but a different Tanya with a Y. Is there any scheme in place to support local people who need a form of income that doesn't affect the orangutan's habitat?
No, there's, and one of the work we're doing through our partners, we're supporting Jungle Honey. We ourselves are building built a kitchen for the women to have these forest products come and make recipes. We're actually feeding school children because they're becoming malnourished. Because what's happened is the hunter and gathering or slash and burn agriculture that the community have been undertaking for centuries is actually self-sustainable. But as the big multinationals take their land because their individual rights are not recognized, they become unsustainable within the landscape due to the loss of their natural areas for which they operated in. And so if they continue to hunt and gather or slash and burn agriculture at the level which keeps their children fed, they will destroy the environment along with the orangutans and everything that's still there. So what do? Well, we have to support them. This is why we're feeding kids. This is why we're supporting local communities. But what we have to do is develop agricultural systems under rainforest canopy, which are now sustainable, and switch the community over from the now unsustainable to the now sustainable agricultural systems, such as jungle honey, rattan, jungle rubber, vanilla plantations, shade coffee, and these sorts of things. Now, the problem is, we know within 10 years we can make the agricultural system self-sufficient so the community gets rich and prosperous, and we have enough money left over to protect the ecosystem through ranges and infrastructure support. But we need that 10-year period of support from donors to get us to develop with the local community for a win-win situation for the people, the animals, and future generations.
Thank you. I'm going to end on one question. It's just a sweet one from Bonnie. Leif, do you feel hopeful for the future in general, or do you feel worried?
I think we should be worried, but also helpful. The first thing we have to understand, this is the most important 10 years of the history of the human species. This is the 10 years which will determine where we're going to destroy the planet to a spiral of extinction, or we're going to turn this around and pass on to future generations a recoverable planet and ecosystem that's going to be prosperous for all, both economically and environmentally. And so to do this, we're going to have to rewall about 30% of the planet, help with redistribution of wealth, and directly attack the use of fossil fuels in a way which is adding to climate change on an immediate basis. So we have to do all those things, but it's certainly possible. It's extremely possible. And with the pocket change that falls out of a billionaire's back pocket that he doesn't notice has slipped behind the couch, we could do this. So all it takes for us is just to realize the importance and the privilege of us living in this period of history. That we just go, okay, we're going to make the meaningful change, collectivize with organizations which are going to actually make real meaningful change. And the lowest hanging fruit is to save the rainforest and to save viable ecosystems now. So that's the most cost-effective way we can do to save and mitigate climate change. We have to do a lot more, but if we all play a part, we can pull this off.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. I think you've heard my cat meow, Leif's dog bark, and then my dog just barked. So it's raw, but thank you for joining us. If you would like to support our work or have a look at what we're doing in more detail, please visit www.theorangutanproject.org. And we'll see you again next week. Keep your questions coming in. Thank you so much, Leif. See you.